following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Welcome to the System is Down.
This could be our last chance to talk to Keaton.
This could be our last chance to talk to anybody ever. And Keaton was the one to give the word on the last apocalypse scenario that we had. And once again, call us shills or whatever, but we're not throwing this out there to scare anybody, but as a warning, if this happens and it goes down and we didn't throw it out there, then we'd be total douchebags. So
we'd be shills if we didn't put it out. We're shills if we do put it out.
Exactly. Shill if I do, shilled if I don't. Craig, it's Thursday, November 2nd. What do you think's going to happen in the next 2 days?
Well, I wasn't aware of this until today. Apparently, there's a possibility. Well, I'm not even saying the end of the world, but apparently the lights are going to go out.
What's the theory that people are saying?
All right, so there is a YouTuber that I stumbled across a few days ago, and his stuff's really interesting, and he doesn't seem too off the wall, and he doesn't dig deep like Ole does, so it's not like make your brain bleed or anything like that.
Yeah.
Destroying the Illusion is the name of the YouTube channel.
Yep.
Just if anybody wants to dig into him.
Plugs.
Apparently he does like webinars and stuff like that and gets more deeply into stuff, but it seems like every day he releases kind of a synopsis of what's going on. He just kind of hits the headlines and stuff like that. Doesn't really dig deep into it, which I enjoy because sometimes that just gives me the opportunity to dig into the stuff I want to dig into and not necessarily hear a bunch of stuff that I've already heard or don't care to hear.
You don't have to know exactly what you're looking for. He will throw out a couple topics and then you can dig into them if you want to.
Right. See, I was digging in. I was kind of looking at videos about when Tony Podesta resigned a couple days ago, and he popped up, and that's how I ran into him. Well, today I pulled up a video of him talking about how this storm is coming, which is like all this spiraling out of control at once, and he just nonchalantly talks about the this national blackout drill that's supposedly happen. He just mentions that and moves on, and
just in passing, like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, and then we got this National Blackout Day coming on the same day that Antifa is planning their big riots or whatever, and I'm just like, wait, back up. What the are you talking about? And so I started looking into this national blackout, and it's kind of like impending doom almost. No,
not exactly.
What this national blackout is.
Give it on face value.
Okay, so what happens is this amateur radio group that's actually supposed to be part of this drill. It's between this amateur radio group and this military radio group, I guess. They're doing some like blackout drill where the theory is that they're going to shut down like sections of the grid just to basically see how people respond to this.
Are they saying sections or the whole grid?
Well, it's depends on where you read, really. From what I've heard, officially it's going to be sections of the grid, but nobody's saying that this is real. Obviously, Snopes was really quick to deny the fact. And this says Department of Defense will trigger a massive communications blackout starting the 4th, which is this coming Saturday, November 4th, through Monday, November 6th. It's only 2 days, 3 days. That's a long time to shut down sections of the grid just to see how people respond. You know how people are going to respond?
Looting, rioting, and murdering.
Right. 3 days. Well, just watch the movie The Purge. How much shit happened in a 24-hour period on The Purge? Just
Right.
like, hey, do whatever the hell you want for the next 24 hours. We don't care. Well, now we're expanding that to 3 days, where the rumor is the Pentagon's gonna launch a massive electromagnetic pulse, basically. Basically, what they're saying, simulating like if there was a giant solar flare that should take out chunks of the grid,
Right.
or if you
On
really
EMP.
think about it, or an EMP, yeah. Well, if you really look into it, if you've been on the world of Facebook lately, there's been so many people warning against North Korea threatening to use an EMP. That one defense guy or political guy, who knows? I don't know.
Sounds
I don't know
legit.
the fact. He was saying he came out saying that if North Korea was to set off an EMP above like the center of the United States, 90% of Americans would be dead within the first like month or something like that. No worries, nothing to worry about there.
Right. Now,
But
I haven't looked into this really much at all, but I assumed that it was like not just a regional thing. I thought it was like a overall grid down everywhere thing, which is to me much bigger of a deal because you can have like an outage in a certain area. If the outage is in a small town area like here, which I don't think that that's going to be the case, but
No.
here in small town Aledo, Illinois, we've had situations in winter where we go without power for 6 days. That has happened a couple times, and
Right.
it's strange, but nobody was murdered. But if it happens in like New York City, it might be a different situation.
Well, what the sources that they were going off of are saying, they're like going to be getting the responses from like the thousands of counties that across America. So it sounds a little more widespread. I mean, it might be like random spots, but from what I've read or heard, it sounds more like big sections, like big chunks of the grid going out, or like the big cities or something like that. It doesn't sound like it's going to be like, oh, this little town's going to get knocked out.
I will say that I am not a doomsdayer by any stretch. I don't even own a gun, and if you know where I live, I'm sorry that I just announced that to you, but
You do have a big knife though that you carry in your pocket when the
I
neighbors get
have
raped.
plenty of weapons, but not a gun yet. I might buy it tomorrow. I don't know. I don't like to be. I don't like to give in to scare tactics like Alex Jones, which I did not hear this from, which is why I take it more seriously. And I don't like to like be fear porn or anything. Same with the Doomsday thing that I did with Keaton. It's just like, here's this thing, and that's kind of weird. And if that concerns you, maybe be concerned about it. But we we did buy some water and some food, some canned goods and things. And I mean, if it is like, even if it was like all over the country, if it's like 3-4 days, we'll be okay because I'm not too concerned about being murdered in my home, and
Right.
I'm not concerned about starving to death or going without water. It's not like it's like a crazy, scary thing, but maybe in some bigger cities it would be a little bit more detrimental.
Right. Well, it depends on how long things went down for. If things in bigger cities went down, if the power went down for extensive period of time, your good clean water source is out the window.
Yeah.
Unless you live in Flint, Michigan, that never existed in the first place. All right, so here's a little bit of the facts that's happening. What they're saying. According to this is the National Association for Amateur Radio. Somehow that acronym is ARRL. I don't know how that turns into ARRL, but it's National Association for Amateur Radio. The test is meant to simulate a massive coronal mass ejection, which is like a giant solar flare, basically.
Yeah.
Event which takes down the power grid and all forms of traditional communication, including landline, telephone, cell phone, satellite, and internet connectivity. Army and Air Force organizations will work in conjunction with the amateur radio community to test emergency communication method. According to that, it sounds like possibly if there was some kind of mass drill, maybe just with communication systems. Like maybe they'll just take down the main communication systems and see how, like, between military organizations and amateur radio, like ham radio operators and stuff like that, see how they correlate in such an event. That's what that kind of sounds like. Maybe it's more just communications. But this quote here is where it sounds kind of weird. It says, the exercise will begin with a national massive coronal mass ejection, solar flare event, which will impact the national power grid as well as all forms of traditional communication, including landline, telephone, cell phone, satellite, and internet connectivity. So it's hard to say if, like, maybe this is just like the intro to this drill and saying, oh, this is kind of where we're starting at, go from here, or is this actually how it's going to happen? You know, it sounds like there's going to be a drill, but what level is the drill? Is it going to be, are they actually going to shut down the power? Are they just simulating that the power is going down and the communications going down? Are they going to shut down all communications?
Okay, conspiracy, tinfoil hat on. Drill is a trigger for me. I
Yes.
mean,
Well,
there's a drill,
as soon as I
which
saw
means
this-
that it's going to happen, whatever it is. If there's a drill on 9/11 to simulate what you would do if there's a terrorist attack with planes flying into the World Trade Center towers, then that's what's going to happen. If there's a drill in Sandy Hook on what would happen if there was a mass shooting on a school, guess what? We find out happens. If there's a drill, I mean, look into any of these things. Like, if there's a drill, that's what it is. And that's what we're going to be fed. If it was literally just like a national drill that would cause mass hysteria if you tried it, maybe give a little bit of a heads up and be like, hey, we're just going to test this and see if you guys can stand being off Facebook for a day and not having, access to food or water for a day, or not having, communications for a day, whatever it is. If it's like a drill for our well-being, just shutting it down to see what happens, that's not an attack. That's an attack from your government.
See, starting with the drill thing, when I first heard about this and texted you or called you, and then my coworker, I've slowly been dragging down into the depths with me, and he's actually...
Tell him I said you're welcome.
Well, he's actually he's already got a game plan heading for his uncle has a cabin in Wisconsin, so he's already planning on shooting there if anything goes down.
So he's deep enough.
I told him today.
Did he get his colloidal silver?
No, I told him today about this drill. I was like, apparently there's this blackout drill that's supposed to happen. And he's like, what? Really? I've never heard about that. I was like, I hadn't either. I was like, but you know what drill means, right? He's like, crap. Yeah, you told me what that means. And so as soon as I saw that there's supposed to be this massive drill, the first thing that my ridiculous mind went to was, well, especially since they've been kind of drilling this EMP thing into our skulls with North Korea for the last couple of weeks.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's possibly this EMP drill that might happen. How are we, if an EMP drill or non-drill were to happen, they don't even have to come on Facebook, or the president doesn't even need to come on Twitter and be like, oh, this was a terrorist attack, because we have no clue.
Can't.
The lights,
yes.
Exactly. We don't know. The lights are just off, and we don't know why, and we don't know when they're coming back. And it would be drill or not, like you said, it would be mass hysteria if they just decided, shut everything off, let's see what happens. We don't know what the fuck. We can't even look at Google this and be like, what's going on right now, Google?
Yep.
We don't have that possibility unless you have a ham radio or something. You aren't going to be able to know what's going on. So yeah, it's instantly people are going to lose their fucking minds It's like when the power, it's like people will drive with their gas tanks on the red line for 2 days, but as soon as like a storm or the power goes out or something, people are in lines filling up gas cans and filling up their tanks twice
Right.
and freaking the out because of the unknown, basically.
Yeah.
Like people are scared of the unknown. And even if, let's say, the drill, if there was a drill, it didn't knock the grid out, but it just knocked out like cellular and landline communications, people would lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Just that. So
Yeah, and even if it just happened in certain areas of the country, all the other areas will be freaking the fuck out as well. Like,
right.
how long before it gets here? I don't know. It's like, if it's a drill, even like when you're in school and there's a fire drill, the teachers know there's going to be a fire drill. There's no fear in the teachers because they know it's going to happen. Like, there wasn't a fire.
See,
you alert the people, the authorities at least, to keep the mass hysteria down so that the people who need to know to keep from murdering their neighbors will be alerted if they need, like, the authorities will at least alert them and tell them, hey, just calm down. It's fine. It's a drill. Like, this is not at face value. If it happens, it's not a drill. It's an attack from our government.
See, we will, at my job, like I've said before, we do fire alarms and security alarms, stuff like that. So we test fire systems, like in buildings. Once a year, you have to go in and test a fire alarm system. And it doesn't matter how many people you alert. Hey, we're going to have a fire drill here. We're going to be setting off the bells. Don't freak out. There's always one or two people that go running out of the door freaking the fuck out because they didn't get the memo, especially in like a mass area, like a college dorm or something. There's always that person that was sleeping that hears the fire alarm go off, didn't get the memo, and he freaks the fuck out and starts running out the door. It doesn't matter if they told us or not. There's still going to be people.
They can broadcast
if they
it nationwide and say, hey, we're doing this. There would still be the guy like myself who doesn't watch the news and be like, what is happening right now? And if that guy just happens to have like guns and think that it's the apocalypse, which we've been preached about in all the shows, The Walking Dead, or, you know, every other apocalypse show or movie in the last 50 years, like, they're going to freak out and start going into survival mode because that's what you do as a human.
Look at like back in the days of radio programming with, what was it, the broadcast
War
of the World. Yeah, where people clicked on a little too late and didn't hear the memo of, this is just a fictional broadcast. And people started freaking the fuck out and running for the hills and like digging in and setting into survival mode just from something that ridiculous.
Well, I have heard that hysteria was actually made up and it wasn't real. Even that being the case, we all believe that could be a possibility. So it's not too far-fetched at all.
Look at Y2K when Alex Jones decided to make everybody believe, all his listeners believe, that Russia had set off nuclear bombs, and people started like fleeing the cities and heading for the hills. It's just like, it doesn't take much to send people into mass chaos. It doesn't take, especially if the lights and the power and everything go off. It's like, it would be instant chaos.
Yeah, and I think that Alex Jones's personal role in all of this is exactly that. Pushing people into the most mass hysteria chaos that he possibly can. And I sent you a video. You told me about this Blackout thing earlier today, and I started looking into it, and I just Googled and YouTubed National Blackout. And apparently, what was it, like 6-7 years ago, something like that? I sent you the video.
2013, so it was like 4 years ago.
Okay, so there was an article on InfoWars and Alex Jones and all them. They were preaching about this thing that's going to happen in November, and it's going to be a national blackout day where they do this exact same thing. And to my knowledge, it never happened, obviously, because we didn't experience it and we haven't heard of it at all. And same as the Y2K thing that he was so sure that was going to happen, just trumping up mass hysteria.
Right.
It's just like the exact same thing that happened back then in the same month, which is a little bizarre too.
Wasn't there something else we talked about not too long ago? Oh, it's like the CERN thing, and how like 2 years prior on the exact same day, CERN like fired up their thing. I don't remember. It's like things like this happen on specific dates, and they happen again on the exact specific dates, and it's just really weird to me. And just,
yeah. It's the same as like the stars aligning just perfectly for this date, like talked about with Keaton on the last Doomsday episode. I feel like we have to have a whole different podcast that is just weekly. What's going to end the world this week? Like that should be a podcast of its own. If it's not, I suppose that would be InfoWars. But yeah, I mean, then it's like people have said this hundreds and thousands of times in my lifetime that the world's going to end because the stars are doing this and the moon is doing this and blah, 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 blah. It's like,
as skeptical as this sounds right now, you at least spend a couple minutes of your day today thinking, well, if the lights do go out in 2 days, what the hell am I going to do? I know you did, because I did. I spent a good chunk.
I told you at the beginning of this, I told Kayla about it, my wife, and she went out and bought a bunch of canned goods and some bread and water, jugs of water, that type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. We've got.
She's doing today what I plan to do tomorrow, which I kind of nonchalantly mentioned to my wife today because she's not nearly as Oh, hi.
Hey.
So here's my wife to weigh in on this.
Okay, it's not like I bought stuff that we wouldn't be using.
Sure.
She did buy a propane heater for $70, which I told her, no, don't do that.
No, it's better than a $600 to $1,000 generator. It would heat one room.
It's not better than not buying anything, though.
You thought I had something else to say? You're wrong. Bye.
Why are you here?
What little do you know is when the grid goes down, do you think the gas stations are still going to be open and running to control your propane? And
no, but she also bought a whole bunch of propane bottles. So, if it's like a 5-6 day outage, then we'll be fine.
I got firewood in a fireplace. So.
It's also supposed to be like 65 on Sunday.
Which is very comfortable weather, in my opinion.
Right. So, anyway, I nonchalantly told my wife, hey, so North Korea is they're talking about setting off an EMP. And it's like, what would we do if that happened? And she's like, I don't know. And that was the end of that story.
Oh.
And so I didn't dig any deeper into that.
Well, I've been wanting to have some sort of just in case section, water and canned goods, things like that.
She's turning into a prepper.
Not,
a prepper.
No, I mean, I don't have like stockpiles of ammo or.
So she calls me crazy all day long, and then she goes and preps for the next thing that I tell her.
I'm a doer. Okay, you can talk all day long, but I have it taken care of. You're welcome.
This is new thing for us. We've never had a prepper on the show before.
I'm not a prepper. No.
I actually have a guy who is a hardcore prepper that I'm going to have on the show, and going to have.
Sullivan.
Oh, this guy designs prepper gear. Like he has shelters that he designs, and you push back he has videos online where he has a picture frame and you push it to the side and then this compartment pops out. It's Jonas Wynn. He's coming on the show soon.
Yay!
All right, get out of here.
Any sort of professional.
I'm planning to have him on and have on at the same time my pastor, who is like, God will provide, which I don't know. I lean more on the side of not even necessarily God will provide, but whatever will be, will be. Like,
Right.
if it's going to happen, what is my pistol going to do? I
Well,
want to have the
that's-
right to have the pistol, but I don't think having the pistol is going to save me from anything that's going to happen. It might make me live a day longer than I would have otherwise.
Right. And if you have a mass storehouse of food, guess whose house is going to be the first one looted?
Right.
This
Especially
guy
if you
has a
broadcast it online.
Well, this guy hasn't left his house in 3 days. He's got shit in there. Let's go in there.
Yep. So, Doomsday Part 257. Final thoughts?
Well, we are selling this shelter. Let's just use
Colloidal
this takedown.
silver. Super male vitality. You gotta get your water. I don't remember the words that we use typically. InfoWarsLive.com.
If the lights go out Saturday, I'm gonna be the first one that starts hiking, like, away from anywhere near the city. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's like a half an hour drill. It's like say the power just glitches because there's a storm or something. On Saturday, if it happens on Saturday, I'm packing up. I'm leaving. I'm heading for the hills.
What would hitchhiking do for you that staying in your house wouldn't?
No, I'm heading for the trees. I'm heading away from the city.
Okay.
Getting out of here. Because
Leaving your
sitting
family?
in my house. What?
You leaving your family or taking them with you?
I'm taking them as far as they can walk.
Every man for himself.
It's true. I know for a fact I can hike at least 12 miles. I don't know about my kids. Which 12 miles is going to get me to the outskirts of town. Then I might be screwed.
So
Canada.
the intention was to
Canada.
record this more in advance than the last Doomsday one so that people have more of a chance to prepare. But I'm not going to edit this before tomorrow, which is in like 13 minutes. So it's still going to be the day before. Sorry, guys. We keep trying.
Well, if people would tell us, inform us more than 2 days before Doomsday.
It's our job to inform them.
But we have our men on the streets, our reporters out there, gathering information.
No, we don't. We don't even know what we're talking about.
It's true. Maybe we should stumble across this information before 2 days before Doomsday.
So, odds of, not Doomsday, but blackouts. Let's say a nationwide blackout's happening. Odds, percentages, what are your thoughts?
I'd say probably maybe 5%, maybe. And that's giving it a really high bet. I'm just saying.
I don't think that's true. Because you wanted to talk about this. And you think it's only 5%?
But 5% is really big percentage for something that's like saying, hey, there's a 5% chance you're going to die of cancer. And you're like, well, that's not that big of a chance, but man, you're just going to think about that 5% for the rest of it. It is
a high percent, but so if it happens and you get blackouts on Saturday, you would be 95% surprised?
No, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily.
Exactly.
I don't think anything could happen that would surprise me at this point. The odds of it happening, yeah. The odds of it surprising me, nah. Because I've had in the back of my head for a while now that I should probably start, at least saving up some canned food and some water. Because the odds of something happening sometime in the near future, I'd say 95%. Sure, something.
Yeah.
Something where I should have probably saved up some canned food is going to happen in the next short time, I would suspect. Oh, we forgot to mention that this happens to be the day that Antifa is kicking off their major protests. Some people say protests, some people say demonstrations, some people say civil war. It's supposed to be going nationwide. And so
as significant as that sounds, I haven't heard anything about this Antifa protest outside of people who are saying look at this blackout thing, and it also lines up with that thing. Like, it's definitely taking a back seat to the idea that there might be a blackout.
See, some people are saying that, well, maybe it happens to be the same day as this Antifa protest to kind of squelch the protest so it doesn't get out of hand.
And that makes it like frickin' politics again, which makes me not give a shit.
What's the biggest way to make this anarchist protest get out of hand? Let's just completely shut everything down. That's how we just pointed out. That's how everything gets out of hand. So, let's bring this down a little bit by shutting off the fucking power and having mass hysteria. Yes, that sounds like a terrific idea.
Right.
People are already upset and like raising their pitchforks and shit, and we're gonna shut the power off on them.
Right. I don't know. Just the whole thing, everything, both the rally protest and the idea of it being shut down just sounds like fiction. It sounds like this happened, so this has to happen.
Right. It sounds like they're poking the bear at that point, though. It's like these people are pissed off at our government. Let's take away one of their main rights of power.
That's assuming that they're on opposite sides or opposing sides. Like, I don't at all. I think that the protest is comprised and set up and fabricated, and I think that the system shut down. The system will be down on Saturday, guys. I think that if the system is down, then it is intentional as well.
One thing I noticed today, and I had seen it pointed out in a YouTube video, is this whole Antifa thing is kind of an anarchist group. I don't even know exactly what they're rallying against, but it's kind of an anarchist group, like against basically the government. But
don't say anarchist group.
That's their thought. That's kind of what they're trying to form themselves as. However, when you see these people like shutting down the highways and stuff like that and standing in the highways, who's always behind them? Police officers are always surrounding them to make sure everything stays calm. It's like, this wouldn't happen at all if you didn't have the backing of the police department. It's like, if the police wanted to get you out of the fucking way, they would get you out of the way. I mean, ask all the people that have been shot by the police in the last 2 years.
Yep.
Not to be insensitive. The police want you to do something, they're going to make you do it. I mean, yeah, that they could be like, well, they don't want to spark a riot or something like that against the police. No, that I fully believe any of these big rally groups are funded and supported by
George Soros.
I don't know about that. I don't even know really who he is. He's just an old rich white guy. No, they're funded somewhere. They're backed by somewhere. They don't necessarily know it though. It's like they're just stupid and they're just doing the dirty work for whoever, the deep state, the globalists.
You can't say it.
Just like
you can't say it like that.
Globalists.
There you go. You're getting closer.
Okay. Globalists.
Gotta get more jowly.
My jowls are too tired at this point.
Globalists.
But they just don't realize they're just doing somebody else's work. Even if it's not like the deep state, there's somebody politically motivated behind this, and you're just doing their bidding. You're just free labor for them and just free poster child for somebody else's political opinion, basically. So it's like you're just being duped as much as everybody else is. You're just being louder about it.
It's all a big freaking game.
It is.
So, realistically, your power goes out on November 4th. What do you do? Do you really start hoofing it?
I told you, I am hoofing it.
Really, though?
I don't know.
I had a lot of people tell me, hey, if Donald Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. Really? Or do you just stick around and say, must be weather?
But how long do you stick around before... I mean, do you wait to start hearing people rioting in the streets before you decide to try to get out, or?
You tell me. I do. I stick around because I trust my neighbors and I don't think anybody's coming to...
How long do you trust your neighbors before they start to freak the fuck out?
Well, I will invite them in. Boom.
Okay.
All I'm saying is give peace a chance.
I don't know. It's hard to say because I know what the people are like in my city.
All right. Well, that's all I've got. So, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Oh, thanks. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.